Good morning, gamers. So, a lot of you, and I mean a lot of you, told me that I should not go straight to a hunter run from my easy baby mode monk run. Just because the difficulty is so drastically different, like monk is easy mode and hunter is one of the hardest runs in Rain World. So I figured, you know what, I should probably play some other slug cats before I actually get into the hunter run, just because it's so difficult. And in the end, I absolutely did not do any of that. We jumped straight off the deep end. Let's go, baby! So if you've seen my other videos, this one's going to be just a little bit different from that one. The others were almost like a video essay or like a review of the game from the perspective of a first-time player, but I've played Rain World before. So I'm just going to kind of walk you through my process of completing my hunter run, which is interesting in and of itself. And I'll just include some review elements here and there, probably not very many, because it won't do you much good to hear all about how much I liked the gameplay or the soundtrack or the environment for a second time. But if that's something you're interested in, I did already make a video about Rain World being played for the first time, and all of that's included in there. So I'll leave that down in the description, and if I can figure out how, I'll put a little card up in the corner. Lastly, since this video pretty much covers my entire hunter run from start to finish, I'm pretty much going to spoil the entire game, so you've been warned. So, you all told me that hunter was going to be incredibly difficult by comparison, and you know what, I figured you probably were right. In order to prepare, I decided, you know what, I should do a movement and combat like training arc. So that's what I did. I learned to backflip, down spear, do little swooshy jumps that I think are called like slide pounces or something. I learned to fast climb, corner boost, throw boost, and a few other odds and ends. There's also kind of like way more complicated stuff that I didn't really get into, but I at least learned the basics to help me get through the journey ahead. By the way, I think if I hadn't done this, I just would not have been able to complete a run, at least within any reasonable amount of time. Just end of story, period. Wouldn't have happened. It took me like 2 hours to get the hang of the basics and be able to do them at least somewhat consistently, and I appreciate that Nightcat made a lovely, convenient video, which I will leave in the description, which kind of detailed how to do all of it. Now that I'd completed my training arc and felt like I was ready to kill some lizards, I jumped into a run on the first day almost completely blind. Now, I had heard that there was a cycle limit, or rather, a point at which the run enters a permadeath state due to an illness I lovingly called cancer for the rest of the playthrough. My chat also told me that if I didn't take the green neuron looking thing at the start, I'd pretty much be guaranteed to lose the run. By the way, in the script, I absolutely misspelled guaranteed. I don't think I've ever gotten it right. I don't know. Anyway, I stuffed the neuron in my belly and began familiarizing myself with the starting area. The goal of my first run was just going to be exploration. Just get as far as I could in the limited cycles I had so that I could make it to the end on the next one. You know, after having figured out where I need to go. Well, I was definitely being far too hopeful with that one, and I absolutely would not be making it anywhere close to the end of Hunter's journey. In fact, I completely misinterpreted the cycle count, not realizing it counted down instead of up, and I reset after only having wasted, 6 cycles in the starting location, because I thought, no way I make it if I'm already at 14 cycles. But I learned how to get out of the first area, and that you start with enough karma to get through the gate, so I familiarized myself with resetting the game, and started from scratch. Alright, run 2. Back at the start. Stuff the green thing in my mouth, eat the little centipede bugs, head through the first area as quickly as possible, and get to the gate without dying. Already the run was looking better than the first, but a new set of hardships was awaiting me on the other side of this mechanical contraption. The growing pains of learning the path ahead sent me falling into the abyss. On multiple occasions. Keep in mind, it had been months since I'd navigated through any of these places, and it was from the opposite direction. So, though some areas seemed familiar, they were by no means places that I knew how to navigate through. That being said, I eventually learned about the first Echo Flash and subsequent Echo Encounter, but lost all my karma. I'll be honest, getting to the next shelter took me a long time. I died way more than I'd like to admit, be it to a lizard, or from falling to my doom. I even died to a pole plant I forgot about. But eventually I made it to the shelter with a full belly, and began exploring the next leg of the journey. I learned that I had to farm karma before activating an echo, so I went on a few few killing rampages, stored up karma, and collected the fruits of my labor. That concluded day 1 of 3, and I was still feeling hopeful. Chat was excited at my progress. I'd learned a lot, and I was ready to keep exploring the following stream. Day 2 began pretty much like you'd expect. I was running around exploring, finding my way through the area. I was dropping some karma here and there, and then I was informed that I now did not have enough karma to actually make it through the karma gate, so I spent a couple cycles farming karma, getting it back up so that I could go through, and when I finally reached a place where I was ready to start trying to go through the gate, I experienced a shelter failure. If you don't know what a shelter failure is, essentially you wake up in the middle of the night while it's still, pouring with rain, but for me this was actually a bit of a blessing in disguise because I wasn't exactly sure where I needed to go yet, and to give me a bunch of extra time during the, not quite day, night, to figure out the route I was going to take. So after some scheming, I came to the conclusion that my route would be this. I would get to the area, get the echo flash, head up to the shelter and sleep, come down with full karma, get the echo, and then come down, grab a flappy bug, jump over the top of the area, head to the right, and enter the next area. As it turns out, I got lots of practice doing this, because when you're not used to something and you've never done it before and you suck at the game, it doesn't often work out the first time. But over an hour later, I had finally made it to the next area. A new area and new shelter meant that I was entirely unfamiliar with it and I needed to re-familiarize myself. And re-familiarize myself I did. I explored up and down and around and every nook and cranny until I came to the Karma Gate on the far side of Sky Islands. A little bit of tomfoolery and pharma farming. A little bit of tomfoolery and karma farming later, and I'd made it through the gate into Chimney Canopy. Progress was steady, and things were looking up for our hero. However, I only had 4 cycles remaining, so this was going to be the last area that I'd be exploring before I was forced to reset. Though I did manage to find the next Karma Gate and have an epic fight with this bird, which left me feeling like a pretty big fella, but I ultimately ran out of karma before I was able to pass through successfully, so we reset. Alright, run 3. Operation Flappy Bug Parkour. First attempt was looking pretty good, actually. Except I got jump scared by a white lizard coming out of a pipe and had to give it another shot. Second one was also looking pretty good. I had almost made it to the pipe and then a scavenger killed me for pretty much no reason. Wasn't the first time I'd ever experienced this, and it absolutely would not be the last. But the third attempt was successful and got me right where I needed to be. The pace of this run was significantly faster than the last couple, and the exploration and knowledge I'd done and gained in previous runs was doing me really well in terms of keeping me alive. I then, surprisingly without any issue, scrambled across Sky Islands and made it into Chimney Canopy. At this point I had 16 cycles remaining and was lovingly gazing at my maximum karma. Now, I'm not sure if this is because I got to the area with full karma or what, but I had my chance to get the echo without getting the echo flash. So I immediately headed up and collected my second boost, putting me in a fantastic spot in terms of making it through the next gate. One jump scare and one slip and slide into the abyss later, I found myself at the foot of what would prove to be my greatest challenge yet, and the cause of the end of stream. But there's still a few things we have to get to before all that. One grisly death climbing the wall was all it took because the second cycle was decently long and I used pretty much every second of the day I had to make it from the bottom to the checkpoint near the top. I slept soundly knowing that I had multiple accounts of first-degree murder to add to my list, and it was onwards and upwards from there. The white lizards just outside gave me some trouble as I continued to ascend, taking more than one of my precious slugcat lives, but getting to the top, I once again was faced with the opportunity to get the echo without an echo flash. So, naturally, I took it as a nice opportunity to get my third and final maximum karma expansion. After spending just a little more time with my newly revived white lizard friends, I made it to the top again and prepared to do wall skip, the same way I'd accidentally progressed in my initial playthrough as monk. It was at this point where I thought to myself, this run is going pretty well. I've made it to Pebbles with 11 cycles remaining, and I feel like I know where I need to go from here. Which, in hindsight, was technically true. I mean, the run was going well, but I had far less of an idea of where I needed to go than I imagined I did. My memory was not nearly as good as I thought, and my directional incompetence was still working double time to make sure I would get lost from that point onwards. But I digress. I went to see Pebbles, who instantly had me vomit up my green neuron I'd been holding onto, diagnosed me with terminal brain rot, gave me 5 extra cycles, and told me to head down to see Looks to the Moon, who was evidently not in a good way herself. So I avoided the anti-gravity area, went back to the den near the top of the wall, took a quick nap, and prepared to descend. It was at this point that I experienced what I can only describe as the true experience of the game, Pain World. Day 3 began at the checkpoint on the wall where I'd left off. It had been a little while since the disastrous ending to the previous stream, and I was feeling pretty confident. A few deaths wouldn't really bother me, and thank goodness because there were a couple. But in the end, I only saw my life flash before my eyes and not see it ended, as I speed ran my way all the way from the top straight to the bottom. I did, after that, also spend a pretty good while actually figuring out how to continue descending, and the local wildlife was not very welcoming to me. In a fit of gaming, I did, however, absolutely clown on 2 vultures at once, and I got to take one of their masks with me. Thanks to my mask, Chimney and Industrial both actually went pretty smoothly. However, if you've been paying attention up to this point, you know I've not eaten a neuron other than the strange green one, and I was about to head into the pitch blackness of Shaded Citadel. Since I had not committed the biggest sin known to mankind, like last time, I was just wading around in a sea of darkness and spiders. Now, I know I'm really good with directions, but it could be said that the amount of time I spent looking at the map confused, or the time I spent not really sure of the way forward, just looking into the darkness, might have led me to get washed away with the evening downpour. What I had forgotten, though, is that if I was going to die, it was going to put me before the Karma Gate in the last area, which means that I would have to farm up Karma again, at least 1 level, in order to go through. So, what that meant is that I needed to go farm another level of Karma, and when that inevitably failed, I decided, you know what, I should probably just go a different way. And I will save you the pain of watching yet another run die, because Garbage Waste was utter trash. Get it? And I decided not to waste any more time. God, how does he do it? It was another reset. Alright, run 4. You can die, and then reset. Alright, run 5. No, that's another one. Alright, run 6. No, get to die to a pole plant. Okay, perfect. Yeah, no, great. All right, run 7. Really? Come on, man. It's not that Getting back on track, the 8th run actually went quite smoothly. I was zipping through the starting areas, touting a large pool of excess karma as I went, all the way up to the point where I reached the foot of the wall. So I shimmied up to the checkpoint and got ready to face Pebbles. Now, here's where I learned, thanks to chat, that if I want to have the glow of a neuron, I can leave a couple of hunger pips empty when I go to see Pebbles, head through the left, and grab a neuron from the anti-gravity area. That way I'd be able to actually make it through Shaded Citadel, so that was my new plan. Also, if you've enjoyed the video up to this point, please consider subscribing or leaving a like by the end of the video. I'd really appreciate it. Okay, I'm sorry for chilling. Let's continue. I said hello to my lizard friends, ate too much by accident, so I jumped to my doom, got a free echo for some reason. I don't understand the game. I wasn't even at max karma. And then I made it to Pebbles with a little room left in my belly. Just like last time, Pebbles gave me some chemotherapy, so I gained 5 additional cycles, and they told me to go see Looks to the Moon. I grabbed an 8 neuron so that I'd be bright enough to get through Shaded before getting told by Pebbles to get the hell out, and I returned to the den below the popcorn plant. Now at this point, things were actually looking really good. I'd not, by my definition, wasted any cycles by needing to farm karma, so up at the top of the wall, I had 17 cycles remaining. This put me in a prime position to make it to the end of the game, especially now that I was playing better than before. In only a few deaths, I made it all the way from the den and Pebbles area to the bottom of the wall, not using any cycles to sleep on the way down, which was a big improvement from the pain of the last decent run. It took me a good few deaths again to make it through Chimney, but that wasn't a problem because by the time I rested in Industrial Wastes, I had plenty of karma to make it through into Shaded. I was absolutely flying through this run, and that wasn't about to stop. In Shaded, I wasn't exactly sure where I was headed, but I did know I had to head up and to the right, pretty much as far as I could go. By the way, who thought this was a good idea? Allowing spiders to do this? Like, what the hell? Anyway, I cannot understate the importance of having light in Shaded, because having this neuron made it so much less painful than before. There are a ton of baddies and scavs that can and will kill you in this area, so I decided to play it safe and sleep in a den that's a bit over halfway through the zone. In the morning, it was just a quick sprint to the right that I probably could have covered the night before, but now that I had a full day, albeit a short one, to explore, I decided to risk it and press onwards. Now, you may recall from my first Rain World video that I called this area something along the lines of swimmy water hellscape, because as far as I remember, I am horrible at swimming in this game. I drowned many times when playing in this area as Monk. So when I was entering it, I was already like having PTSD flashbacks to that. Despite my history of overhydration, I made it through the area to one of the dens, but I found myself with very little daylight and no food to speak of in my tummy. This meant that I was now starving. For anyone unfamiliar with starvation, in the game at least, it means you occasionally pass out from hunger and your game does not get saved. So if I was going to die during the next day, I'd be sent all the way back to the shelter in Shaded Citadel, which I really was not especially interested in doing. The problem for Hunter in this place is there's little to no food for them outside of jellyfish, which I hadn't really anticipated. I had not planned ahead whatsoever upon entering the area, and I was completely unprepared. The whole starvation thing kinda was throwing me for a loop. But despite my growling tummy, I pressed onwards. I waved at some scrungly scavengers, falling down the same hole more than once, only to eventually find myself at Moon's room. I gave her some CPR and she said some very kind things to me, which I responded to by jumping up and down wildly with joy, as anyone would. This did prompt her to tell me to be still, so maybe that's actually a rude thing to do, but regardless, she thanked me and she sent me on my way with an empty stomach but a full heart. Now, remember, I've starved to get to this point. If I fail to fill my belly all the way up, or I die to a strange monster, or drown, or anything bad happens to me, I have to come all the way back here from Shaded. It's been almost 20 minutes since then. So, as you can imagine, I immediately started scrambling for jellyfish, or if worse came to worse, I might even have to try eating the bumbling scavengers I saw before. Luckily, after eating literally every jellyfish available to me, my belly was full. I swam my little slugcat self over to the shelter I thought was closest and slept with only a minute to spare, but I'd done it. When I saw those 2 jellyfish and realized it would be enough to satiate my hunger, I knew that this could very well be the run. I'd come a long way. I'd learned a lot, and up to this point, I'd gotten pretty lucky on multiple occasions. Having completed all my objectives, all it was left for me was to make it to the end of the game. Of course, that wasn't going to be easy, and I will admit, since I've already been through these areas before, and the problem was just that it had been a long time since I'd done it, and not at all that I'm bad with directions, I figured that I could appoint my chat to be navigators, like a GPS with delay that sometimes tells you to go the wrong way. I just wanted them to tell me where I needed to go because I knew that if I was going in the right direction, that I could complete this run. Now, you could say this was cheating, or it wasn't a blind hunter playthrough, or whatever, but I effectively had just opened up a map. Most people, when doing a hunter run, would have a lot more experience with the game than I did, so it probably wouldn't even be necessary to open a map at this point. You would already kind of know where you need to go, but I don't have that experience, so I needed it. That's how it was, and you can yell at me in the comments if you want to. So off I went, venturing into the watery landscape to reach Subterranean and subsequently finish the game. I swam past leviathans, rode on the backs of squirty squids, donated blood to the local leech population, got sick of being bullied by the squirty squids, so I decided to turn them into my dinner, and I took a brief break from the water. This break was abruptly ended, however, as a master of camouflage bit onto my Tabasco ass. But he could not handle the heat and dropped me almost immediately. I did have a strong taste for blood, however, and he immediately paid for his transgressions with his life. I wall jumped my way past some squids that really seemed to want to troll me for some reason. I got lost because it's what I do best, and I slept in a shelter just to be safe. I've already risked enough in this run that I have enough cycles to spare, right? I got back on track, only to run into whatever the hell this thing is, and I did an awesome jump up to the pipe I needed to go through. Maybe I'm not that bad at swimming after all? Well, it very quickly came time to put that to the test as I made it to this room. I'll just let the clip from stream speak for itself here and play it in its entirety.
Alright. Go, Slugcat. Don't you dare drown on me. Don't you dare drown. Don't you drown, Slugcat. Get up, Slugcat. I made it. I'll be fine. See?
I would have had to somehow get a jetfish into that room, which could have taken me many cycles to achieve, so getting through there was really important for the run. And based on that, I have reached the conclusion that my swimming skills are definitely godlike. After that, I wouldn't say it was smooth sailing, as these guys bullied me into nearly drowning, but I did make it through the gate and to the shelter on the other side, reaching Subterranean with 9 cycles and a dream. I had some exploration runs through the area, and of course that led to me dying a couple of times and losing some karma. but by the time I had made it to this point, I no longer cared about the karma. I was going to make it through, even if it meant that I was going to be at the base karma level by the time I got there. I didn't realize that there were no more karma gates after this, and that the X room was going to set my karma back to level X, but as fate would have it, luck was ever on my side. I not only walked right under these birds, killed multiple spiders, avoided whatever the hell that thing is, and skirted around drop bear after drop bear, but I'm just gonna let this clip from the end of the day play.
Go down? How do I get down? I don't know how to go down. Get out of the way, you guys. Guys, get out of the goddamn way. Go, Slugcat. Run, Slugcat. Go, Slugcat. Go to the right. Go in that goddamn shelter. Easy. I'm not even stressed. Not even stressed about it. It's fine.
My navigator was gone. They had to leave. So I was just looking at a confusing looking map, unsure of which routes actually get me to descend into the place that I want to go. So this was absolutely horrifying, but I still had a good deal of karma and was entering filtration systems. Now, I'd love to hype up filtration to be a monster of a challenge, but it went really smoothly in my first playthrough, and this wasn't really any different. 7 cycles left and I was halfway through filtration, though I did get jump scared by the fact that it takes 3 spears as hunter to kill the black lizards and not 2. On my 7th cycle, I managed to reach the end of filtration and enter the depths without dying to fall damage. From that point on, you know how it goes. Infinite time and no hostile mobs. I paid my respects to Larry and swam with my hunter brethren into the light, ending the game and dying of cancer happily ever after. So that's it, that's the run. It took me around 3 hours of real world time and 1 hour and 46 based on the game's in-game clock. The rest of my stats are here if you want to see them. And all in all, I think it was a pretty good complete first run. I have no idea what the score means, but hey, none of the stats really matter because now I can proudly say that I am a true gamer and have completed a hunter run in Rain World. I really enjoyed the experience of learning the route, figuring out how to not suck so much at the game, getting better at combat, and how rewarding it was to finally complete a run in its entirety. Every time I reached a new area or figured out the next part in my route was super satisfying. It just feels like you are learning and experiencing so much and growing significantly as a player because of it. Completing Hunter took me around the same time it took to complete a single monk run. That time being 9 hours of actually doing the run, and in this case also 2 hours of training. I'd give the first time Hunter experience a solid 8 out of 10 on the Lunan ranking chart, mainly because it's far more enjoyable to play the game when you actually know something about it or have a bit more idea what you're doing. I also think that the Hunter story is more compelling, the objectives are clearer, and the fact that you have a limited number of cycles really encourages you to play at the top of your game, otherwise you may have to reset your run. I enjoyed my time playing Hunter, and if you enjoyed the video, as I said, I'd really appreciate it if you would consider subscribing or leaving a like. I've found that it actually really helps the videos out, although YouTube doesn't always bless every video with the stamp of approval that gets it on people's recommended page. Some of you might have noticed that I have been streaming live right over here on YouTube, and though the videos may be a bit inconsistent, if you liked this one, I promise you will like the others too. And I just want to say thank you to everybody that allowed me to use their art or music as a part of this video. I really appreciate it. Lastly, I want to thank you for watching all the way to this point, and with any luck, I will see you in the next video. Take care.